Today, we are diving into the absolutely brilliant political philosophy of Enrique Dussel. He gives us this incredible framework for understanding why political systems so often feel broken, and maybe more importantly, how we might actually begin to fix them.
I mean, it's a feeling so many of us have, right? That sense that the people in power are just serving themselves, not us. Well, Dussel argues this isn't just a string of bad luck or a few bad apples in the bunch. He sees it as a predictable sickness, and it has a very specific cause.
So here's our game plan. We're going to follow Dussel's logic. First, we'll diagnose the sickness. Then, we'll uncover where real political power comes from. After that, we'll look at his 3 principles for a cure, explore the path to genuine change, and wrap up with some pretty radical ideas for putting power back where it belongs, with the people.
Okay, let's start with the diagnosis. Dussel gives this political illness a very particular name: the fetishism of power.
Now, the word fetishism is key here. Dussel borrows this from Karl Marx, but he applies it to politics. Think of it like a kind of political idolatry. It's what happens when the thing that was created, the government, gets worshipped as if it were the creator. The institution completely forgets it was made by the people and starts to act like it exists above the people.
This quote just nails the whole idea, doesn't it? It's a spectral inversion. Everything gets flipped upside down. The political system, which is supposed to be founded on the will of the people, starts to see itself as the foundation of society. And the people? Well, they just become a resource for the system to use, not the whole reason it exists in the first place.
So this is where the rubber meets the road. It completely changes how governing works. The ideal, for Dussel, is commanding by obeying. Basically, leaders listen to the community and then carry out their will. But under this fetishism, leaders start commanding by commanding. Power becomes its own justification. It's totally disconnected from any duty to the public it's supposed to serve.
Okay, so if the state isn't the true source of power, then what is? To get to the bottom of this, Dussel makes this really crucial distinction between 2 types of power: potentia and potestas.
And honestly, understanding this is the key to everything else. Potentia is the raw, original power that lives only with the people, with the community. It's the absolute source. Potestas, on the other hand, that's the institutional power of the government. And look, it's a necessary tool, but it's always delegated. It's created by the potentia to serve it. It is never, ever the original source of power.
And this insight leads us to a predictable and kind of depressing cycle of corruption. It all starts when the people's power, the potentia, creates the state, the potestas. But pretty soon, the state forgets where it came from. That's the fetishism we just talked about. And then comes the really sinister part. The state starts to actively weaken the people's power to protect itself, using tactics like divide and conquer to keep the community from ever organizing against it.
Okay, so after diagnosing the disease and identifying the source of political health, Dussel gives us a prescription. And this isn't some 10-point policy plan. It's 3 fundamental principles that he believes have to guide any just political system. Yep, he boils it all down to 3 core ideas. And it's not like a buffet where you can pick 1 or 2. They are totally interconnected. If you want to create a healthy political body, all 3 have to be working in concert. Okay, first up is the material principle. This is the non-negotiable goal. Politics has to be about protecting and enhancing the life of the community. And that includes everything: its environment, its economy, its culture. Second, the formal democratic principle. Power has to be legitimate. That means decisions need the most participation possible from everyone who's going to be affected by them. Simple as that. And finally, the feasibility principle. This is the reality check. It's about being strategic. Your actions have to actually be possible. Not so timid they accomplish nothing, but not so pie in the sky that they're just doomed from the start.
So, those principles give us the what. But what about the how? I mean, who actually drives this kind of massive change? This is where Dussel's analysis gets really, really interesting.
See, Dussel is super precise about what he considers real change, what we often call reform. He says that's usually just tinkering around the edges. It's superficial. The real goal is transformation. That's a radical innovation that creates a whole new way of doing things. Now, revolution, the total teardown of the entire system, that's possible, but it's historically incredibly rare. The real sweet spot, the goal, should be transformation.
So who makes this transformation happen? For Dussel, it's the pueblo. And this isn't just a vague word for everybody. No, it's a very specific political force. It's a dynamic alliance of the oppressed and the excluded. He calls them the plebs, who band together with a new project to create a more just system that in the end will be better for everyone, the entire populace. And finally, Dussel doesn't just leave us hanging with these big, abstract ideas. He proposes some very concrete institutional ways to actually hardwire the people's power, that potentia, directly into the machinery of the state.
One of his most radical ideas is something called citizen power. I want you to imagine a new fourth branch of government, organized from the grassroots level all the way up. Its entire purpose? To watch the other three branches like a hawk. And it would have real teeth, the power to actually kick corrupt politicians out of office and to force popular votes on major issues. It's a direct institutional check on that fetishism of power we talked about.
And another idea is electoral power. Get this, a fifth branch of government that doesn't just run state elections, it could be called in to ensure fairness and transparency in any election, whether it's in a labor union, a big corporation, or even a university. The goal here is to create a deep, society-wide culture of democracy, not just something we do in a voting booth every few years.
Dussel wraps things up by reimagining that famous motto from the French Revolution, liberty, equality, fraternity. He says for our times, we need a new call to action. First, alteridad, or otherness, a profound respect for those who are different from us. Then, solidaridad, a real commitment to stand with the oppressed and the excluded. And finally, liberación, liberation, the never-ending process of freeing ourselves from corrupt systems and building new ones that truly serve the life of the community. A pretty powerful thought to leave you with.